Hi everyone, we're going to go over the deck list for Jeskai Ephemerate, sometimes pronounced Geskai, and that's because we've replaced Astrolabe in this list with Abundant Growth, which does the same thing but is a bit minimal and harder to cast, obviously. Um, just going over the mana base, we've got 7 fetch lands, and just leaning on Ash Barrens because they're untapped lands, which we can sometimes just have Abundant Growth on them. I've got 1 Bajuka Bog for messing with graveyards. I've got 1 forest to get the abundant growth, 2 mountains, and 1 plains, and then 4 of the thriving isles, which are really good for fixing in this list. For our cantrip suite, we have 4 preordain, 4 abundant growth, and for the removal suite, we have 2 lightning bolts and 1 scred. These lightning bolts are, your best 1 mana removal in the early game. Scred is a 1 mana removal in the late game. I got 2 abrades. These are mostly because Bonder's Ornament is a thing. If that's not prevalent in the meta, you can remove them. 2 cast down. They can deal with nearly anything, and that's very important. We can cast an early cast down with either Abundant Growth or with Thriving Isle on black. And then for counterspells, just 4 of the Namestay counterspell, which is part of the reason to play this deck, is being able to play 4 counterspell. And we have so many blue mana, we can actually cast it pretty reasonably. I've got 2 Fall from Favor, which are really, really good in mid-range matchups, or if you can maintain a clear board, and 2 Fiery Cannonade. They can be very good against elves, or things like Stompy or Fae. 1 Pulse of Marasa to create Pulse of Marasa loops, and then 2 Bonner's Ornament for value. The value engine here is Core Skyfisher with Abundant Growth. So we play a turn 2 Abundant Growth or turn 1 Abundant Growth, and then you can Core Skyfisher it back, effectively making this 1 green-white for a 2/3 flying draw card, which is very impressive. Core Skyfisher can also pick up things like Muldrifter, or even Bajuka Bog, as referenced earlier. Let's see. And then in the late game, there's a bit of an engine, obviously, with Mnemonic Wall and Ephemerate. Mnemonic Wall gets Ephemerate back, Ephemerate Mnemonic Wall gets some target back, and then just keep looping it that way. You can set up a counterspell lock, you can set up locks with Screds, or with cast downs, and it's very effective in the late game as long as you can get there. Core Skyfisher can also pick up Mnemonic Wall, which is used in the late game to do something like Pulse of Marasa, get back Mnemonic Wall, play Mnemonic Wall, get back Pulse of Marasa, get back Core Skyfisher, and then you play Core Skyfisher, pick up Mnemonic Wall, and then replay it and get Pulse of Marasa back. So these 3 cards act together so that you can keep gaining life and rebuying all your Core Skyfishers out of the graveyard. I think that's the main, and then in the sideboard we have 2 Lone Missionaries, which are good as early blockers, good as chump fodder against mono black control, or against something like Stompy, and obviously very good against burn. We have 2 Ray of Revelations because this deck is weak to Pestilence. Sorry. Because this deck is weak to Pestilence, and is also very good against Bogles. And then we have 3 Stonehorn Dignitaries for times when our removal suite is a little less reliable and we really, really need to lock out the late game. Core Skyfisher can also be used to buy back Stonehorn Dignitaries, which you'll see in this video series. Hydroblast here is obviously very good against burn, and is also sometimes used against other opposing Pyroblasts. Dispel is a catch-all suite against things like Pyros and Hydros, and instant speed interaction. And we have 3 Pyroblasts. This is probably one of the best cards in the meta right now, given how much blue there is. And 2 Gorilla Shamans just to really hate out Affinity and make sure that they don't get to play. Affinity is a very powerful deck if left unchecked, so having this card is very important. I hope you enjoy the series, and good luck out there.